Hey, what's up guys, this is Liam or Weagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video. Today we're going to be talking about how Jeff at BlizzCon spoke about 40 hero concepts that they pitched to Activision many years ago, but also how some of these heroes could translate into new heroes in the future, and from these heroes be able to draw out what abilities and things that we don't have in the game yet that we're more likely to also see in the future. Now, a lot of this is from BlizzCon, and we covered so much of BlizzCon that we actually overlooked this part, so any gameplay you see in the background in this video is going to be really early Overwatch footage, just in case some of you guys hadn't seen it. You'll see the progression of some of the different abilities and just some really cool stuff in general. You can see how OP some heroes used to be and how they definitely had to be reined in. You can also see a lot of the different animations and how they progressed as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know in the comments too any abilities that you would like to see in Overwatch in the future. So this is not going to be in any specific order because there's lots of weird timelines and how like even two heroes could be turned into like one hero or one hero also split apart. So the first thing I'll show you here is this slide that was at the BlizzCon panel, and some of these heroes you can tell have not really changed to this day. Now, we knew in the past that the assassin in the bottom left there was the Hanzo and Genji original. These two got split up from the assassin into their current forms. But you can look at some of these other heroes and how they actually used to be completely different to what they ended up being. Phoenix here towards the top right is clearly Pharah, but it looks like it's a man, and the artwork is of course completely different as well. Napalm cooldown of course is very similar to what will have been Pharah's Barrage, and you'll also see some other iterations of that in other artwork I'll show you soon. What I do find interesting though is how some heroes like the Juggernaut clearly became other heroes in some way. You can see that the Juggernaut has a gun very similar to what Zarya's is, however this is a Flamethrower. One of the abilities of this Juggernaut is also Charge, which of course got turned into Reinhardt as well. So it's the same as the long shot below, which is of course very similar to what Widowmaker has now become, apart from she doesn't have a machine pistol. Instead, her rifle can auto fire. So it's cool to see how all of these things go, and the final one I'll point to is actually the mechanic in the bottom right, who had a large sentry, a teleporter, a nail gun, and a sledgehammer. This is obviously Torbjorn, but you can see that some of these abilities got given to the Architect up the top right hand side. What's more interesting about Architect, which is actually now Symmetra, is that in this version, in this mock-up, she had a shield generator, which she never had when Overwatch released. So it's an ability that they went back to in order to give her in the current version, which also makes me think abilities in this next set of slides are very likely to come to the game. Moving on here, you'll see some familiar faces and some you're not going to recognize at all. Now, Iris here is of course what looks to be like Athena. If you read through these abilities, you can see that she would have had Speed Boost initially, Particle Beam, and Shield. You can tell that these abilities are already spread among people in the game. Particle Beam would be Zarya, we've got Speed Boost for Lucio, and the Shield as well would probably be similar for Zarya. So even though we might see Athena in the future, if we do, she's going to be very different to this original mock-up. You've got Hanzo again there, of course, and one that I found quite interesting is Troy here in the top right. He has Flail, Charge, and Shield. Again, very similar to like a Reinhardt skill set. He even has the blonde hair, but he's also got a visor, something similar to what Soldier might have. Now, if we were to actually look at abilities that aren't in the game yet that I would really like to see, I would probably look towards this Luke, if that's how you pronounce it, on the right hand side, who has some really cool sounding abilities. One of them is Chainsword. The other is Spawn Minions, which I know something everyone has been asking for is, can we have a character that spawns some kind of minions that actually move around and not like a Symmetra shield generator or a Torbjorn turret? And finally, Flame Strike here as well, which you would assume is what Reinhardt actually got given after throwing hammers, which was a thing, by the way, proved to be a little bit problematic. So this character here I think looks really cool, and we've also got Hive Mind that's next to it that has Lightning Gun, Disable, and EMP Pulse. This of course became Sombra, but Lightning Gun isn't necessarily in the game how you might imagine it. Maybe when you zap someone, it goes to multiple people. You of course do have Winston and similar guns to that, but usually what Lightning Gun means in a lot of games is that when you shoot one target, that charge then goes off to other people. You got Psyblade here as well, who has Super Punch, Shockwave, and Backbreaker. Sounds very Doomfisty to me. The original Mercy is here as well, and there's Huntress, who has Crossbow, Multi-Shot, and Imbue Shot, which I find interesting for one reason. We did get Hanzo, who was originally the assassin that got split up to Hanzo and Genji, but this Huntress here does have Multi-Shot, which you would assume is Scatter Arrow, and Imbue Shot. Now, one of the fixes a lot of people recommend for Hanzo is that he has the ability to have different arrows where his recon would be for different kinds of utility within the game. Well, maybe in the future, that's something that we might see, if not on Hanzo, then on someone else. We of course have Frost here as well, who has Ice Patch and Ice Wall, who you would imagine turned out to be Mei. Yetzi at the top as well also seems to have similar things to this. We've got something like Mastermind or something on the left hand side, who had a Dark Matter gun, something Sphere, maybe Shield Sphere, so again maybe some kind of Zarya spin-off here as well. And you have Phoenix there, who has a Flamethrower but also kind of looks a little bit like Pharah. You got Mama Hong in the bottom left, who Jeff Kaplan said he would love to see in the game at some point, who has something called Manslaughter. You would assume that maybe it does more damage to men. I'm not sure. And if I take your attention to Rumble here, who has Siege Mode, Shield, and Energy Bolt, this would have been an original concept probably for someone like Bastion. Brit here seems to be some kind of archetype for Diva, and Mercy in the bottom again looks a little bit like some kind of a Pharah deal. Finally, we'll talk about Praetor in the bottom right, who has Twin Cannons, Tri-Grenade, and Hunter Visor. The first two sound really cool, although Tri-Grenade probably became Helix Rocket, and Twin Cannons sounds really cool, but this guy probably likely became Soldier, as he also has Hunter Visor. So a lot of the abilities you can see here are in the game, but some of them aren't, and I've highlighted them before. Another one by Freak, which is called Attract, there's also Stomp and Cannon, sound very interesting to me. Attract could be particularly interesting if maybe you can literally attract someone to you or drag them towards you and they don't have control of that. Some really cool ability concepts in here. If there's any that I missed that you think sound particularly interesting and you would like to see, then you can let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really hoping we're going to get some of this stuff in the game in the future, and I really hope it's coming sooner than later. I want as many heroes in the game as possible, and Moira is going to be a great addition, I'm sure, but I just want to see more and more as time goes by. Now, I've heard about Jetpack Cat before, but in this concept here, we've actually got Jetpack Monkey, which is kind of like a baby Winston, and is again some kind of early concept. Not only does he have a jetpack though, he also has a flamethrower. Flamethrower hero seems to be something I've seen dotted around in many iterations, and I would say is something we will probably get in the future. They clearly want it, they've clearly designed many different heroes about it, but I should imagine a flamethrower hero is probably quite hard to balance. You've got Mei, which is the ice version of that, but for someone to be able to constantly spray out fire damage, not only would it be probably quite strong and hard to balance, but also visually being able to see past that flame and all of the effects could also cause some problems. Having a jetpack on a monkey is pretty cute, but I think ultimately Pharah ended up getting the better part of that deal. We also here have some even earlier concepts where you've got like alien guys. They said that they didn't really like a lot of these concepts. You could probably argue that the ice hockey guy became some form of Lucio. Jeff Kaplan does love ice hockey, and that's where the inspiration here came from. The other two on the left hand side though, they've said were a little bit outrageous and never made it to the final game. The last thing I'll show you is just a load of art concept for the game before it even came out, before it became Overwatch and became a bit more cartoony and accessible. You can see some of the inspirations like on Kyoto Temple there, which is clearly a lot like Hanamura, but they ended up dialing a lot of the seriousness of this down. The London Kings Row one there, of course, is also very well known, and Cairo, like you can see in the middle left there, initially intended to be a payload map, became Anubis, and became the 2CP map that we all love to hate. A lot of other inspiration and stuff for other maps here. You can see Numbani, of course, and Galapagos looks really cool, and I really want to see some of these in the future. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What abilities do you want to see, and what maps do you want to see as well? What heroes do you think we're most likely to get, and what hero abilities do you think we've seen that we're also likely to get from the concept art? Be sure to drop a like, guys, as it really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified when our videos go live. In the description, you'll find our Twitter that you can follow, which also links to our personal Twitters that you guys can check out too. And finally, be sure to check out our sponsor, Razer. They sell the best utility in the game. We all use them, and I've all used them for many, many years, even before we were lucky enough to work with them. So be sure to check all of that stuff out, guys, and be sure to have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.